When I closed that door, it wasn't out of anger. It was closure, cold, deliberate, and long overdue. They stood on my porch, smaller than I remembered, their faces pale under the porch light. My father's voice trembled as he said, "We just want to talk." I didn't answer. I just looked at them for a moment, then shut the door. 8 years too late. I'll never forget the day the doctor told me what it would cost to save my son's life, $85,000. That was the price of his heartbeat, his future. I had some savings, but nowhere near enough. So I called my parents. I expected hesitation, maybe guilt. What I didn't expect was laughter. My mom said, "You can't just throw money at everything, dear." And my dad added, "We're not a charity, Emily. You should have planned better." A week later, they sent out gold-embossed invitations to my sister's wedding, $230,000, a glass ballroom, imported roses, champagne fountains. Meanwhile, my son lay pale and silent in a hospital bed while they toasted to new beginnings. That was the day I stopped believing love was unconditional. I didn't confront them. I didn't beg or yell. That's what they expected. Instead, I smiled when they called, congratulated them on the beautiful event, and learned that silence cuts deeper than anger. Revenge, I realized, takes patience. I worked every shift I could, days, nights, freelancing in between. I sold my car, my jewelry, my pride. Somehow, we made it. My son survived. He grew stronger, brighter, more alive with each month. His laughter became the sound of our survival. And slowly, piece by piece, I rebuilt us. My parents kept their distance after that. Guilt has a funny way of disguising itself as respect. They sent polite texts, remembered holidays and birthdays, kept everything surface level. But I never forgot. I remembered every word, every shrug, every champagne toast. Will, my child fought for his life. So when they started to fall apart years later, I didn't gloat. I watched. It began with my father's business. Rumors of embezzlement, whispers of tax fraud. Then the audits came. The investors disappeared. They lost the house, the cars, the savings. And suddenly, I mattered again. The first call came at midnight, then another, then another. "Emily, it's bad. We just need somewhere to stay for a few weeks," my mother said, her voice soft and shaking. For a moment, I almost felt sorry for them. Almost. But then I remembered the hospital, the machines, the silence, and her words, "You should have planned better." So, I did plan better. I bought a modest but solid home. I built a business. I made smart investments. I made sure my son would never have to rely on anyone who used love as leverage. And then came that night, the night they stood on my porch, broken and desperate. I opened the door. My dad tried to smile. "Emily, you look well," he said. I met his eyes and said, "Better than ever." My mom stepped forward. "We've made mistakes," she said, her voice trembling. I stopped her cold. "No, you made choices." Her eyes filled with tears. "We're family," she whispered. I tilted my head. So was my son. The silence that followed was thick, heavy, like every lie and wound between us had finally taken shape. Then I said it, calm and clear. "I needed $85,000. You spent nearly triple that on a wedding no one remembers. Now you need a roof, and all I can offer is honesty." My dad started to speak. "Emily." But I closed the door. They never called again, never wrote, and I never regretted it. Not once. Because the truth is, they didn't destroy me when they turned their backs. They forged me. Every sleepless night, every rejection, every cruel laugh, they shaped me into something unbreakable. I learned that family isn't about blood or names. It's about who stands beside you when everything else falls apart. My son knows the story now, not all of it, but enough. One day he asked, "Mom, why don't we see Grandma and Grandpa anymore?" I smiled and said, "Because some doors, sweetheart, stay closed for a reason." Last Christmas I got a letter. No return address, but I knew the handwriting. Inside was one line. "We're sorry. We just want to be forgiven." I burned it. Not out of hate, but because forgiveness isn't an obligation. It's a choice. And I chose peace instead. Sometimes, I think back to that night on the porch, the look on their faces when the door clicked shut. For the first time, they knew what it felt like to be on the outside looking in. Some people call it revenge, but it wasn't. It was justice. Quiet, clean, final. Because the thing about doors is, once you learn to close them, you also learn how to keep them locked.